Move away from the door. Welcome to the second tape in our flipped classroom. Tonight I want to go over some work possibilities for you. By flipping the classroom, you will have time in class each day to actually get some work done. So tonight's video is going to look at some work plan possibilities. This goes back to the very beginning of the school year, and you should probably have some notes in your notebook about this. However, it's been so long that I thought I'd go over it so you could make some kind of intelligent choices when we pass the worksheet around. So the big question I think that I'm going to try and answer is, how do you decide what you're going to do with all this time you have in class all of a sudden? The first question I think you should ask yourself is, what do you have that needs the most work? What's the hardest for you to get done? What needs the most attention? What's due the soonest? And so this is going to change from day to day. The first thing to go back and think about, we talked about this the very first day of school. It's on the first page of your handout in your ISN. You have certain standing assignments in my class, and all of your homework and classwork comes from these assignments. You have an article of the week due every week. I'm going to start handing those out this week. You have a reading response log that's due bi-weekly or every 2 weeks. You have a book talk that's due to me every 9 weeks, 1 per 9 weeks. And you have 2 writing projects that are due per 9 weeks. And they're based on what we're focusing on. You have essential questions that are glued into your notebook that should go back over and review what we're talking about this particular 9 weeks work, as we're looking at nonfiction. What does nonfiction require of the writer? What does nonfiction offer the writer? And finally, you have a personal reading log where you're to keep track of the books that you finished during this 9 weeks. As I said, this first 9 weeks writings are nonfiction, so all of the writing we do in class is going to be based on nonfiction. You need 2 different pieces. Each of the pieces must have a different purpose. And we've talked about what those purposes might be based on that chart we've glued into your ISN. To begin the work of exploring good nonfiction as a writer, some of the things that we've already done is we've already looked at the kinds of nonfiction that there is. We've already looked at what makes nonfiction, the kinds of nonfiction. We've already explored the purposes for nonfiction in the real world. We've moved on from there, when we started to flip the classroom, is you've actually been collecting entries in your writer's notebook that should be helping you decide what it is you're going to be writing when it comes right down to becoming a writer of nonfiction. You should have many entries in your notebook that have helped you narrow down what you're interested in. You should also have completed at least one of the territories graphic that we did together in class. I think most of the classes did it on tattoos, to help you decide, this is my area of interest, what are some possibilities for me? And you should already have at least 2 or 3 rough drafts in your folder that have come from all of this pre-writing work. Now, this number 2 or 3 also includes your memoir, which is a form of nonfiction, whose purpose is to go back and reflect and see how the things that have happened to you in the past have shaped who you are in the present. That brings us up to where we are now, in the present today. What you're going to be thinking about in class from now on out. So number 2 is where you are today. Number 2 asks you to think about, what do you think is going to take the most work and the most thinking and the most support from me and your peers? What are all those standing assignments do you wish I was beside you to help you make some decisions? And I think it's probably the writing assignments and the article of the week, because those are the 2 assignments that a lot of you are not getting full points for. Those are probably going to be the assignments that you're going to choose to work on in class. Another thing to think about is which choice for your work plan is going to allow you to use the information that you're gaining from the tapes you're watching for homework. What I post as tapes are information and strategies that are going to directly help you with your writing assignments. A second thing for you to consider is what you're good at and what you're not so hot at. We've talked about this in class before. Not everybody's gifted in language arts, so that some of you can leave some of your things for another time. whereas others of you have somebody there to help you with it. So that would be a second thing that figures into how you're going to decide what to do in class. So the next part of this is the ones that you need the most help with are the ones you should plan to do in class. The ones that are the easiest for you or take the least amount of time should be the ones you plan to do at home. But the most important thing to remember is that if you efficiently handle your time in class, and by efficient I mean you don't waste a lot of time fooling around, talking, searching for your materials, chatting instead of conferencing, then the more efficiently you use your time in class, the more work you get done in class, and the less that has to be done at home beyond watching the videos at WSQ. So with that much said, here are your choices. These are choices you'll have every day in my class. I think what I'm going to do is pass a clipboard around each day, and as the clipboard goes around during bell work, you're going to record exactly how you're going to be using time in class after we've finished doing the editing, invitation to editing, and the WSQ review. So for writing, here are your choices. As you take notes on these choices, think about where you actually are in your own personal process. The writing process begins with pre-writing, or the work in your writer's notebook. I've assigned most of this for homework. Since we flipped this classroom, if you're one of those that hasn't been doing your homework, this is where you're going to have to begin in class. So your choice is writer's notebook work. That means you're going to be working on your entries, writing more, rereading what you've already written, working on another graphic organizer to identify purposes within a topic, or whatever it takes to find something you're interested in. If you've actually been doing your homework and you've generated some rough drafts, maybe you've discovered that you don't have enough information to do decent nonfiction. Then your work choice would be to research. Perhaps you have a topic that interests you, but you realize you don't really know very much about it that everybody doesn't know, or maybe nothing that you know is really interesting enough to hook a reader yet. Maybe there's nothing that's given you your own quirky point of view on it yet. Then if research is what you need to do, and that means perhaps you need to go to the library and see what's down there. Or maybe it means getting a laptop and searching for websites, articles, magazines. Maybe it means you found something and you just need to read and collect the information in your writer's notebook. If you've gotten further than that, if you've tapped into something that you really know a lot about in your rough drafting, then perhaps what you need to be doing in class time is drafting. You should already have 2 or 3 of these rough drafts to choose from. If none of these seem like something you want to revise, then maybe what you need to do during class time is generate more rough drafts to choose from. Or maybe you have a rough draft that you didn't get to finish and you need to work some more on it. These rough drafts should be done on notebook paper and they're stored in your writing folder. And finally, if you are lucky enough to have done all your homework, you have a draft, or you got your memoir back and you realize you want to work some more on it, then your choice is going to be revise. And on your work plan, you're going to tell me that you're going to revise, and you're going to tell me how you're going to revise. Revision may be that you're going to sit down with the rubric that we went over with our last video. That you're going to go sit down with the rubric that we went over on our last video, and you're going to read to decide where is this strong and where is this weak, and what trait do I need to strengthen. And maybe revision is going to be to look for a particular strategy that's going to help you fix what really needs to be fixed to make the writing in this particular rough draft pop. I think these are enough choices for this video. These are the choices that I expect most of you to be working on, as writing is going to be on the front burner for a while, at least until we have finished the SOL test. I hope this helps you, and I hope you come to class prepared to participate fully in our first flipped work plan. I'll see you in class tomorrow.